Good evening, boxing fans, and welcome back. Am I the only one who remembers when Lennox Lewis said it takes more than a left hook and a haircut to beat Lennox Lewis?
You know, you got to come with more than a power left hook to beat Lennox Lewis. That's what I said. If you come into war, you got to bring your whole arsenal, just not just a left hook and a haircut.
This is Rummy's Corner. So Lennox Lewis said that it takes more than a left hook and a haircut to beat Lennox Lewis. And he was right. And with regards to the upcoming fight between Andre Ward and Sergey Kovalev, I hear an awful lot of boxing observers expressing the sentiment that it takes more than a big right hand and a mean streak to beat Andre Ward. And that's probably true also. But the thing of it is, in Sergey Kovalev, we have a talent that amounts to much, much more than just a big right hand and a mean streak. Kovalev, like Ward, right now they're both elite pound-for-pound talents, undefeated, at or very near their absolute primes, squaring off in what I think is undoubtedly the absolute best fight that can be made in boxing right now. And the winner of this fight, whoever that is, in my opinion, becomes the undisputed heir for the pound-for-pound king throne that was vacated by Floyd Mayweather Jr. So for my worthless 2 cents on the keys to victory for both fighters, for Sergey Kovalev, I think the #1 priority for him, the #1 key to victory, first and foremost, is his jab. Kovalev has a very good and I think sometimes often very underrated jab. Against an old veteran in Bernard Hopkins, he was able to consistently use the jab to control the action in the fight. And I find that in situations where Kovalev kind of gets away from the jab, he isn't as effective. And we saw an example of this in his first fight with Pascal, where Kovalev was doing much better when he was dedicated to the jab and not as well when he sort of abandoned it. And that same sort of thing happened in Kovalev's fight against Chilemba. Against Andre Ward, I think Kovalev needs to stay dedicated to the jab. Even if he's not landing it well, he can't get frustrated and abandon it. He needs to stick with that jab. I think everything for Kovalev is going to be reliant on how consistent he is with throwing his jab. The #2 key to victory for Kovalev, as I see it, is something that actually, ironically, Andre Ward is known at being great at. But Kovalev is known to do an outstanding job at controlling the range and dictating the distance where he remains in optimal punching position. And again, the Hopkins fight is a textbook example of this. But truth be told, this is an attribute that Kovalev has put on display consistently time and time again. He does better at it when he sticks with key #1, the jab. When he's jabbing, he has a better job maintaining the proper range and punching distance. But regardless, it's something he's very good at. It's Ward's biggest strength, but it's also arguably one of Kovalev's biggest strengths as well. Now, Ward is probably better at controlling the range because he's more athletic, but that doesn't matter. Kovalev doesn't need to control it as well as Ward does. Kovalev just needs to keep himself in the right punching range. A third key to victory for Kovalev, as I see it, is mixing up his right hand. We all know it has devastating power, but what he's really good about is mixing it up. Mixing up the angle, mixing up the speed of delivery. Sometimes throwing the right hand a little short where the opponent thinks, okay, I'm out of range when I'm out here, and the next time he throws it, you learn he was holding back on the punch a bit and that there's a lot more range for him when he fully extends himself. So mixing up the right hands, Kovalev can't get in a habit of just bombing away. I think in some sense it would even be good for Kovalev to heed to the advice that Vitaly Klitschko gave to younger brother Vladimir back in Vladimir Klitschko's first fight against Chris Bird, where Vitaly had told him something to the effect, don't put full force behind all your punches. Mix it up. Throw it half power. Just throw to land and not to knock the guy out. This is the kind of thing against Ward I think that would be beneficial for Kovalev to employ, but the point here is Kovalev needs to mix his right hand up. He's usually very good at doing these things, especially when he's throwing his jab and doing a good job at being at good range. And I think the fourth and final key to victory that I think is most important for Kovalev is to stay disciplined. And this goes back to the other three keys: using his jab, finding his range, controlling the distance, and mixing up his right hand. If Kovalev stays disciplined and follows a game plan through, even if things aren't going his way, he needs to stick with his approach. He needs to go out there and be himself. He needs to be the Sergey Kovalev we've grown accustomed to seeing when he's firing on all cylinders, which he doesn't always fire on all cylinders, but more often than not, in every fight he has, there are good stretches where he is firing on all cylinders. That's what Kovalev needs. He needs to work his jab, control the range, keep his distance, mix the right hand up, and find ways to stay disciplined. For Andre Ward, I think the number one key to victory is movement and positioning. And all of this is designed to help find various different ways to neutralize Kovalev's devastating, game-changing power shots. If Ward is moving, and this involves dictating the range, but it's a little more than what I think Kovalev needs to do, which is basically stay in punching range. Ward needs to be in range to minimize the incoming fire while finding ways to launch his own offensive arsenal as well. And that's a little bit of a trickier proposition, because in terms of his positioning, he's going to need complete body positioning. He's going to want to try to find ways where he gets too close or too far away from his opponents so that they aren't in punching range. But this will also involve his entire body movement, his hand movement, his arm movement, his upper body movement, twisting at the waist, moving his head, finding ways to dodge, slip, and deflect various incoming fires. He needs to constantly be moving in such a way that Kovalev isn't exactly sure what target to fire at. And Ward is generally very good at this: positioning, movement, range, distance. But in this particular encounter, he's really going to have to be on his A game, where the sum of what he's doing is greater than all of the individual parts of what he's doing. And this isn't necessarily an easy thing to accomplish against a guy like Kovalev. For Ward, I think the second key to victory involves mixing up his punches. Ward has an awesome arsenal of punches. He throws a good jab. He has a decent right hand. He has an excellent left hook. He works his punches well both upstairs and downstairs. He's capable of throwing good uppercuts. He can fight as a southpaw or out of the orthodox stance. And he does a good job at mixing all of this big variety of punches up so that he never always delivers them quite exactly the same way. Kind of like Kovalev is good at mixing up his right hand, Ward is really good at mixing up everything he does, and he does everything very well, and he does some things exceptionally well. And I think the punching variety for Ward, mixing it up, keeping Kovalev confused, preventing Kovalev from finding a rhythm in Ward's game. If Ward can constantly keep Kovalev guessing by moving and positioning himself properly while doing a good job mixing up his punching variety, particularly with the left hand being something that Chilemba had success with against Kovalev, using both his jab and his hook, Ward needs to mix things up and always keep Kovalev guessing. I think the third key for Ward is he's gonna need a really tight defense in this fight. I think that goes without saying. You know, Ward is a defensive-oriented fighter largely anyway, but I think he's going to need to be even more attentive to his defensive faculties than he normally already is. And I think the fourth and final key to victory for Ward focus, focus, focus. Ward needs to stay focused, and he usually does. He needs to remain focused and alert throughout the entire 12 rounds of this fight, where, you know, once in a while Ward does have some lapses inside the ring. Not often, but it happens. He really has to minimize those or eliminate them altogether. He needs to be sharp and focused the entire duration of this fight if he's going to want to give himself the best chance of winning. And I think that combines with the other keys to victory. His movement and positioning, mixing up his punches on offense, keeping his defense tight, and finding various ways to try to keep Kovalev guessing and keep him a little confused inside the ring so that he doesn't know what Ward is going to do next. That's much easier said than done. So for my official prediction, logically thinking about this matchup, I think it favors Kovalev ever so slightly. And the reason I say this is because I think Kovalev can have an off night and still find ways to win. I think Kovalev has a lot more room for error in this fight. Whereas if Andre Ward has an off night, or if Andre Ward is making more mistakes than we're accustomed to seeing from him, I think he's gonna lose the fight. In other words, I think Andre Ward needs to be much closer to perfection in terms of his execution than Kovalev does. And for that reason, I think this matchup does logically favor Kovalev. But all the same, I'm gonna go against my own conventional wisdom here. And for my official prediction, I like Andre Ward by unanimous decision. I think it will be a close and competitive decision, but I think Andre Ward is going to show the entire boxing world exactly how great he is. But then again, I don't know shit about boxing. But what I do know is, whatever happens in this fight, I hope that boxing fans are in for a real treat. Perhaps the first chapter in an amazing trilogy. And I hope the best man wins, and I hope you all enjoy the fight. This is Rummy. Thank you for tuning in. Please stay tuned for more episodes in the future. And if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. And if you're already subscribed to my channel, I thank you for your continued support. Have a good night. Enjoy the fight, everyone.